Okay. Yeah, but we have a lot of things to go over. Buffering. What do you guys think about buffering? Now that you guys have been able to play for it or play with it a little bit, do you guys enjoy buffering? Pretty sure it's still buffering. Pretty pog. Wonderful change. I haven't played any of the flash tests. Leap's kind of OP though. Yeah, yeah. So, hate it. Okay. So I think to talk about CC buffering, the first thing to start with is the biggest issue with Smite 2 was that they liked one relic. They did not want to go back to the two relic system. But they felt like they have not been able to find timers for CCs. So you like nerf the CC of like on her stun, which is 0.75. You do it any lower and you can't really combo anymore. Same thing with other characters, yada yada. So the change to CC buffering is supposed to make CC feel worse. That's the idea. It's supposed to add some semblance of counterplay to CC because, as we all know, I complain about CC all the time. There's too much CC in Smite 2. I think this is a good start. Now, some of the worries. Does it make leaps too strong? Maybe. I think having having movement for the most part, you should feel pretty safe. And I actually think people got used to leaps being meh because they were so interruptible. And like if you're playing on her, you're standing here, you get like dash taunted, you have to like turn and then jump. Like that's a pretty weak movement ability, especially when it has a short pre-fire time. Um, I think now it allows good players to toe the line of as long as I don't get hit by a CC before I input my jump, I will be safe. And for bad players, or for players that just play the game more casually, they are able to just use their abilities when they want. And the. See if I can actually find this.
Oh no, but I just entered. Oh no, but I just entered.
You want to play like one or two more of this and then we play some Fall Guys?
What the fuck? Holy, that was the CC buffer right there. Oh no, but I just entered.
So this is one that is usually, or like this kind of shows the strength of, buffering. I think you see something like that and you're like, wow, that feels horrible for the Athena. She dash taunted him, hit him before he was able to use his dash, or before he was able to use his jump, and you got punished for it. Well, actually, you didn't hit him before he was able to use his jump. You actually timed it too slow. You weren't able to get it out in time, and he's able to get his jump off instead. Um, I think this opens the door for more thinking in little fights and little scenarios and little micros that makes the game just more appealing. Because instead of, Athena dash taunting and it's like, who can get their ability off first? Whose pre-fire time is shorter? Athena dash taunt or Fenrir turning and jumping? Instead of like that being the contest of, who can click their button faster, it is now going to be like mind gaming almost. Like if I'm playing Athena now, I can dash taunt, And it's something where, like, if you see it's coming, you still have to, like, you can't react to a lot of CCs. It's not like you can see the Athena taunt coming out a lot of the times and actually react to it. It is, you think she's going to use it, so you jump away. Well, instead of me, dash taunting the on her in a team fight, because he's close enough to me, I'll dash at him, he'll jump away, and instead of taunting the on her, I'll taunt someone else. He's now got his leap on cooldown, and I can hit somebody else. Or now his leap's down, now my assassin can dive him, because he doesn't have any of his movement abilities up. I think it just makes the game feel better for both sides. And for characters like frontliners, Ymir, Athena, Khepri, all of your abilities have longer pre-fire times and are very interruptible because you're in the middle of team fights a lot more than backliners. So you will now have the capability to use your abilities when you want to. I'm trying to think of like a really important one. A big one with Bacchus is trying to Bacchus ult. If I can't Bacchus ult with Bacchus, I keep getting interrupted. I am not getting my CC off, and I'm not getting my damage off. And it's the same thing with his leap. It's the same thing with his drink. They're very interruptible. So I think it's a good change. It's going to feel better in the long run. There is maybe a small opportunity to nerf leaps cooldowns for the most part across the board, and I think that is something that they probably could do. But it happened a couple times in the 1 week that or the 1 day that I was able to play where I was playing Hades. There's a few times where I was getting my dash off instead of getting CC'd out of it because I'm using it before getting hit by anything instead of having this long pre-fire time. So I think this will make the game feel a lot better, and I think it's only a positive, like, across the board. And I think CC buffering was a very, very good addition to Smite. So yeah. Okay. So for the Conquest map, that's just everything. Layout changes. I was of the opinion that I didn't really mind the layout changes. I mean, I didn't mind the layout of the map that much. The red buff being really far away, it makes it so mid laners kind of have to get out of lane if they actually want to farm. I didn't hate it, and like especially now, mid laners have just like free farm here. They have red buff now also. Where am I headed? Inscription? Banger game though. Banger game. Thank you for the 3 years, Jiggy. Thank you, man.
I got the sauce on me. Hi, Bobby. Also, I'm in way over my head in Inscription.
Banger. If you guys haven't played Inscription, really fun. Really, really fun. But yeah, for the most part, I don't mind the Conquest layout. I think is it going to be a little bit better? Yeah, maybe. We'll see. It's kind of like a how does it feel more than anything, but I think it's fine. With these, mostly the islands, this is nice for flow. I like the changes to the flow a little bit, but these Harpy camps, I think, might be worse for the game. Now, let me tell you why I think that. I think most lower level players are not going to be on their timers of these camps. So this is effectively half the farm, or half, like, if you stretch it over the entire course of a 30-minute game, these will be done efficiently, on time, quickly, half the time. So you're getting like half the amount of XP and gold from these. I think if you're playing into a really good team, like a really good duo or a really good solo laner, or if it's just like two good players going up against each other and one of them gets ahead and the other one falls behind, this is just farm that's going to be stripped and will push the lead of the player that's already ahead. Because I was listening to the Titan talk, and this is supposed to be safe farm for the behind player. But the issue is there's no such thing as safe farm other than a bat camp. That's like the only essentially safe farm, because it's the only time where if you do go try to invade that, there's 3 players that can collapse on you. Like, yeah, somebody could TP through, but as soon as you start hearing that TP, you're gone. Like, if that's a worry. So this is not safe farm for the losing lane. This is just more farm for the player that's ahead, and this will really only be abused by like the top level, and it won't really be abused by middle and lower level players. So I think this is tough, and it just adds more snowballing onto a map that already has a lot of snowballing and already has, I mean, even more than snowballing, even adds more gold into the economy. An economy that I've already complained about is too high. And now that's going to be even more of an issue with another thing later, but this is just more farm on the map, more gold on the map, more XP on the map on a game that's already sped up a ton. I don't love it. But yeah, the walls and the islands I like. This is good. This is not good. I like this. This is good. These Cyclops camps, dropping a Cyclops ward is really, really good because it allows, if you're ahead, instead of getting just like only XP and gold or only getting a buff, you actually get a ward for vision. And if you're behind, you can play for the vision also. I think this is just a nice, interesting mechanic to play around, and I think it's going to be very good. Scorpion camp drops Eye of the Jungle. Yeah, I also think this one's good. No issue with this one. No issues. Jungle camps will now be harder to kill without the starter item. It takes 16 to 19 seconds on average in the early game. With the starter item, it feels like 10 seconds. Okay, so this is awesome. This is awesome. The issue that happens when Hi-Rez tries to add in an actual jungle is not that, oh, junglers will now jungle more. No, what happens is side laners become pseudo junglers. So instead of a solo laner building Bluestone or a mid laner building Sands, a mid laner is building Boombas and the solo laner is building Boombas. I really hate minimizing what you can do on the map, but I almost think either one, with these jungle starters, like they have to do something with like what either League does, where it's if you have one of these, you actually get less farm from the lane. So sure, you can jungle as much as you want with these items, and you can get a lot of farm from the jungle, but unfortunately, you'll be getting 80% of the farm that you'll be getting from lane. The other thing they could do is just limit the game to 1 Boombas. Those are your 2 options. Personally, I think you have to do it. One of the 2 ways. Because, yeah, as Jay Turner says, he's just seen 5 jungle starters. That's the meta is going to be support has a support starter. Mid laner has Boombas. ADC has Boombas. Solo has probably Boombas. Solo might be the one that has a tough time doing it. But you have to do something so that, like, because this is a great start. Making it so there's actually jungling. That's not a pre-recorded stream. But you have to add some asterisk to Boombas to make it not worth for laners. And I think it probably has to be harming, because the only other thing you could do is you could try to bring it back to like Season 5, where you stole every stat away from Boombas and made it so it's literally only for clearing. But then it feels really bad for junglers, and they just get invaded, ran it, and they can't fight back. So you're going to have to limit Boombas somehow. I don't know how. I think this is a good step, but it's just going to lead to the same issues that always happens. The Fire Giant will now drop the Obsidian Dagger. This is probably like a low-key favorite thing that they added, because this is the skill expression that makes Smite exciting. So when you use it, so it's like a consumable, when you use it, it deals 502 damage to the user, but grants 15% more damage and attack speed for 6 seconds. This Obsidian Dagger were to kill the user, or instead revive the user to full health. So, in the late game team fight, you get Fire Giant, your ADC picks up the Obsidian Dagger. Oh, and then also, on top of this, if you die with Obsidian Dagger, you drop it. Okay? So, in a late game team fight, your ADC is getting dove, he pops this, he dies to the Obsidian Dagger, he gets revived, and he gets a boost of damage and attack speed. Sick playmaking. Awesome. I think this is very exciting. great idea, great mechanic. 10 out of 10. I love the Obsidian Dagger. I love the idea behind it. I love it where it's not like you have to use it as a revive mechanic. You can use it elsewhere, but it's a little bit of it's like a trade-off, I think. This is cool. This is really cool. Now we can come to the issues. Okay. Breakables. Free gold on the map. I've been a big hater of free gold on the map for forever. And adding it back in this function is just more gold being added into the economy of a game that is already super fast paced is just bad. Sure, if you want to add little things to do, I get it. It can't be gold. That's why I think like the Fire Giant one is awesome. This is cool. This is cool. I like that you can go pick up this around Fire Giant and get intelligence and strength permanently. This is awesome. I like this. This is bad. I don't like this. I was trying to think of like what they could add around the gold side of the map, and I couldn't really think of anything. But just baseline, the gold is horrible. Terrible. The Fire Giant one is cool. I like it. It's not like the best thing ever. It's not as cool as the Obsidian Dagger. But it's interesting, and I think allowing a solo laner who's dominating to be able to then also play around these breakables is awesome. I like it. And this one's fine too. This is pretty whatever. So, yeah, cool. Aspects. Okay, so I've had the opportunity to play around with a lot of the aspects. I've talked to Clumsy about it a lot, so I've been able to kind of hear what he's saying stuff in regards to the aspects. So I've got a lot of thoughts with the aspects. First off, just as a whole, aspects as a whole, awesome. This is so much deeper than like the Obsidian Dagger, so it's going to be like a 10 out of 10, and it's cooler than the Obsidian Dagger because it just adds so much depth to the game. I still do like the idea of Obsidian Dagger though, but this is just awesome. This is flat out very, very cool. It adds like depth to a roster that doesn't have a ton of depth. Cool. And to make sure it's known, aspects are optional. You do not have to choose an aspect. It is an option to play with the aspect, play without it, whatever. On her. So, this one is actually insane. Every auto attack you get hitting the same character every time gives you just a burst of 20% attack speed. Or maybe it's 25% attack speed, and if you hit the same character 4 times in a row, you reach the attack speed 2.0 number instantly. It's like boom, 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 boom. Like you are shredding. Yes, you lose a little bit of shred, and the trade-off I think between both of like on her with the base and on her with this one is this character on her with this aspect is an insane 1v1 character, but he has no real like utility capability outside of like a little slow and a little CC, and he doesn't have the extra shred on objectives and stuff like that. So this one's really good for 1v1s, very bad for most team fights. Enfeebles is passive, so auto attacks no longer reduce their prots. It increases your attack speed. Athena. Oh, and then I'll give you a little idea of how strong I think it is. I think this one's fine. I think it can be better. Like this one is almost like the perfect start because it's the trade-off is really genuinely something you have to think about. I do think it's slightly better. The amount of attack speed you get is just crazy. That in the early game, getting the attack speed is worth more than getting that little extra shred. It only comes down to you have to engage and then you have to keep trading autos. Like if they do really short trades, they'll win out, but you win extended trades with this build or with this aspect. Athena, really cool one. I think this is absolutely broken for jungle Athena, which is I think is her best role. So I think this one's like a 9 out of 10 in terms of strength. Defender of Olympus, her ultimate, now only targets visible enemy gods instead of allies. They do no damage, or the Athena ult does no damage, but they take additional damage while Athena's channeling. So over the 3 seconds, Athena makes you take, I think it's 15% more damage. So if you are fighting in solo lane, and then Athena ults the solo laner, your solo laner will do more damage to them until Athena lands, and then you have this really good fight potential. This is, because of how weak Athena is as a support character right now, this is such a broken aspect. It's just so broken. And I think this is just going to make her probably one of the best junglers in the game. Bacchus, after using Chug, your in-hand attack cleaves and deals bonus damage, scaling with strength instead of protections for a short duration. I think this is an attempt to make Bacchus like an assassin, almost, more so than a bruiser. I think it's a pretty big nerf to him. I think scaling with protections is always going to be better than scaling with strength on a character who builds and has a lot of CC and can build a lot of protections. I think this is just worse, but like it kind of depends on the number. Like if you can one-shot with it around mid-game, it might be better, but I do think it's just outright worse. If you die while they are channeling the ult, what happens if like the solo laner dies that you're ulting? You would still land. Bologna, Bludgeon no longer deals bonus damage on the final slam, but whenever you gain block stacks with Sword and Shield or gain healing from Scourge, nearby allies gods gain those benefits. This character just stinks. Adding a little bit of utility to her kit and then taking away part of her damage, I don't think really helps her that much. Yeah, I think this is pretty bad. Full team of block stacks, yeah, but if you think about it, I mean, maybe in like just solo you play around this and become like a more supportive solo laner, yeah. But if you think about it, you need to get a lot of attack speed to get those block stacks, or you need a lot of attack speed to heal. In support, you're very low on income, you're low on economy, that you can't build as many items, so you're going to be behind. When you're behind, you can't tank stuff very much. I think this is a pretty bad shift to making her a support, but I do think maybe if you play her in solo lane and you play just Bologna normally, this could be just an outright buff, but I don't think this helps Bologna as a support character. Yo, Snorkel, thank you for the sub, man. Thank you for the tier 3? For 24 months, my goat.
You know what I'm saying?
My goat. Okay, Cernanos. So, Cernanos no longer has ranged projectiles. Instead, he has cleaved autos, and everyone hit by his cleaved autos proc his 1 damage. And then in addition, horn charges cooldown is reduced when hitting an enemy god. I think it's 3 seconds in every god you hit. I mean, it can go up to 6, 9, 12, 15. I think this is actually pretty horrible for Cern jungle. However, I think there is a real opportunity for Cern solo with this aspect to be broken. This is not something I've been able to test, so it's more theory than anything. 4 seconds, sorry, not 3 seconds. 4 seconds last night. I think this is really, really bad for jungle Cern. I don't think there's any reason to ever play this with jungle Cern. However, level 2 aggressive Bologna dual lane 202 with double block stacks though. Yeah, but you're thinking of this like every third auto she gets is block stacks. So 1, she has to stick to you. 2, she needs the attack speed to get there. 3, she has to have the survivability. She has the survivability. She doesn't have the ability to stick to you, and then she doesn't also have the attack speed to get a bunch of stacks. Like if the ADC is just the ranged ADC is just letting you hit him as Bologna, yeah, I mean it's gonna feel pretty good. But Bologna feels pretty good if she's allowed to stick to any character, no matter what, even if you played, you know, just regular Bologna. But yeah, I think this is broken for Bruiser solo lane. Cern. I think it is actually just insanely OP. I would not be surprised if it's. I mean, I don't think it's gonna like be a best character in the game, but it can be a very fun way to play Cern. And if you get a lead, you'll mow people down, run people down. It can full reset. Yeah, it can. And I assume you do something like the raw build, the raw solo build, where you build like Glad Shield, Shield, Phoenix, Berserkers, Pharaohs, Talisman. Like basically the essentially the exact same build that you play on Raw. I think you're just going to be building that on CERN in the solo lane. But yeah, I think this is a cool one. Chalk. This is one that I don't like really at all, and it's multifaceted. Why? The first reason is this opens up a playstyle potential for Chalk to stand under tower, tosses one out, and then just uses 3. And then he just full clears. The other side is, if it doesn't do any damage and he can't 1-3 to clear the wave, then there's no reason to ever take this this aspect. The trade out for a character that you'd be getting more damage than losing your healing. I mean, yeah, you can try to go Phoenix Shield, and this one might be a complete miss. I just think this one is a very bad shift to try and just like this one is almost. It seems like just trying to think of an aspect for this character because it was hard to think of another one. Because I think this one is just it's either going to be so good that you have to go it, and there's no reason to go the other one, or it's going to be so useless that you just never want to try to do it. Yeah. Find it a gameplay with the other ninjas does not look good. Yeah, I think this is like the one. There's maybe 2 that I thought were really meh at best. This is one of them. Not a fan of it. It opens up a boring gameplay loop for both Chalk and whoever Chalk's laning against. I guess there is an opportunity for Chalk jungle. You could be right. Making Chalk jungle a little bit interesting, but yeah, that huge healing factor. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what the opportunity is with this one. Yeah, I would agree. The one thing though is a level 2 Chalk, and this is just thinking about it, a level 2 Chalk with this aspect who ones the ground, 3s, and then you're trading into him. You're slowed auto attack and movement speed wise. You're taking double tick damage from both the reigns because that is something you can do. And then you're also just taking more damage from the 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. Thank you for the follow. So that could have been that could be interesting. I just think in most cases this is going to be abused by just boring playstyle Chalks. But we'll see. Cupid. Heart Bomb's damage is decreased, but the enemy hit has reduced attack speed, and the explosion area heals allies at 8 stacks of Love Struck. Allies also gain a health shield. I think this one is fine. Like, I definitely like this one more than the Chalk. It's just, you are hitting the enemy, then gets reduced attack speed. Thank you for the follow. Who gets reduced attack speed. That's sick. Straight up just, hitting the enemy, they have reduced attack speed. Awesome. The healing isn't something you can really play around. Because if you, hit the enemy on her, he'll just jump away. You can't really heal him. And it's also the same thing with getting the shield. You're hitting the enemy with a timed ability that they can then maneuver around and get out. Like, I think that half of this aspect is pretty useless, but I think the reduced attack speed aspect is part of it is cool. So I think this is like, half of it is cool, it really makes them better in support, and then the other half is whatever. I mean, I guess in like, maybe I'm just thinking that's only in the 2v2, because when it comes to late game team fights, if the solo laner's diving, you heart bomb them, then if they try to stick to the enemy ADC, they'll heal the enemy, or sorry, if they try to stick to your ADC, they'll heal your ADC and give them a shield. So I guess maybe in team fights, that aspect part of it, or that part of that aspect will be more interesting. But for just laning phase, I think the attack speed is the most important part. Dude, 100% Lupus, 100%. I can't wait till they can just do what they want to do and not just be forced into doing gods. So this one's good. This one's fine. Okay, I've seen a few takes about this one, and I've got an opinion about this Danzaburo one where Alluring Spirits no longer spawns a sake bottle, but instead spawns 2 clones, and all of your clones take more damage and take less damage. I think this aspect makes Dan's a hyper carry god. And I think there is not enough. Like, people are like, oh, yeah, he's losing his CC. That's not great, obviously. But if you're pairing this character with a support who can just allow Danzaburo to just free cast, like an Afro or a Kepri, the amount of damage that your clones are going to be doing when you pop this, and the clones you're going to be getting from your auto attacks, and then having those base clones then also spawn more clones, there is so much shred potential on 1, yes, aspects, 2, also divers. I think this aspect is being completely just disregarded because you lose CC. Yes, losing CC is not great, but the shred you get with this character is insane. It's so crazy. It looks professional today. It shouldn't. And the cam should sound like shit too, but you do what you can do. The base clones can what? The base clones can also spawn into more clones. And it's like, yeah, you're not going to have like the on-demand CC for peel, but the clones like body block autos and stuff like that. Like, this one it's really cool. It's just slightly less safe. Well, slightly less safe is probably putting it a little unfair to how safe Danza is with his CC, but it is going to make him less safe. But it's going to bring his damage through the roof. Okay, Fenrir. This one's cool. This one's one of my favorite ones for support specifically. Brutalize deals less damage but applies a stacking slow, and Seething Howl's buff effects are decreased but applies to all allies in an area around him. Very simple, but very needed and designed for Fenrir support. And it allows you to play 2 styles of Fenrir supports. How worried are you that depending on balance, one aspect will always just be better? Maybe a little worried, but I think it's like, specifically for the ones that shift your role, I'm not worried. But for ones that are the same role, like on her one, I'm a little worried. I would be worried that this becomes just like, is the attack speed just never worth it because of the shred you get is just so much better. Like that, I'm a little worried about. But for the ones that switch your role, like this one, not worried. Not worried at all, really. But yeah. Fenrir's is awesome. This is a really cool one, and it opens up the opportunity for 2 Fenrir playstyles. One, which is a pseudo-assassin support, which is just full damage. Well, not full damage, but hybrid. I want to carry this game. And then there's also I'm playing with my team. I want to get my ADC to hyper carry me or my mid laner to hyper carry me, and I'm just setting up for them. I think it's really cool for Fenrir. Do we know the percentage? I think it's 60%. I think it's 40% at base and it's 60% now. And then it's also 200% instead of 300%, I think. It's not massive, but it's enough to make the clones more annoying and also just better. Okay, Geb. Yep, Geb's in the game. For you guys that didn't know that, not a big surprise, but Shockwave no longer knocks up enemies, but deals full damage. It'll circle around you. Additionally, the cooldown is decreased for every enemy it hits. Also, unless I'm wrong with this one, because this is not one that I got to test, this is every enemy that you hit. Not every enemy god, every enemy. So I think Geb is a jungler with this one, and I think he'll be a good jungler too. Pretty easily with, rolling into lanes, and then it's not like, oh, I have to hit this cone to kill the guy, or to hit the guy. No, it's now, I just roll in, ult for the damage, knock it for the damage, and honestly, that should be enough to kill, because you don't have to just walk up and then be melee range. You're probably going to build poly, like, you're going to become just, I assume, one-shot Geb. I think Bruiser Geb while losing CC doesn't make sense. It never really makes sense to just completely get rid of your abilities, because Geb's not a high CC character anyway. Your one is not reliable, it's just your ultimate. This is just Kepri becomes one shot. Hecate. I'm unsure about this one, because this one is really weird. I didn't get to play with this one or really play against this one. It was hard to tell about this part, but Spell Leader can no longer be refired, but instead reduces enemy ability damage in the area. That part, straight up by itself, sick. This is so cool for like solo Hecate, support Hecate, even mid lane Hecate. This is the part that I'm iffy about. Each time an enemy ability is cast, a projectile lands and explodes at their location. I'm just not sure how, like, when it's something like this, where it's like an auto lock thing, it comes down to how consistent does it hit, how much is the base damage, and is it something that you can juke like easily? If it's like 5 damage and you can't juke it, pretty irrelevant. If it's 50 damage and it's unjukeable, that's pretty relevant. So this one's one that y'all just have to play around with. I don't have too much of an opinion. I think it's going to be cool, straight, but I don't think it's going to be, like, it's something I'll have to see how really impactful it is. It's like Rod of Tahuti gift, probably. So it's pretty consistent. Tracking seemed ass. Yeah, tracking is ass and it's low damage. Not great. Mitigate wounds no longer heals based on damage taken or provides attack speed. Instead, you gain stack. You gain a stack when you are nearby nearby allied gods take damage from basic attacks, and when the ability ends, stacks are expended to heal nearby allied gods. Yeah, this one, I don't really understand the potential for this one. Because Herc is a strong support because his base kit is just really good, and he's just very hard to deal with and to lock down. I mean, not providing attack speed is kind of whatever, but not healing based on the damage taken. Instead, you gain a stack when you are nearby. Like, it seems like it's almost the exact same thing, but instead of it's based on damage you take, it's based on enemies doing stuff, and then it's just dispersed healing to your allies. I think this is an attempt to make him like a backline support, which could be interesting. But just reading it, and this is another one that I didn't really get to see. It wasn't played. Instead of just getting flat out value right away with him as a frontliner, you have like niche team fights, depending where he can be impactful. But like Herc's kit is all peel, very little setup as a backliner. As a frontliner, it's no peel, good setup, because you're like picking someone up and then pushing them back. A lot of the times you're not like, as Herc support, if you're peeling, you're not like plucking them off and then pushing them. A lot of the times you're just pushing them away, and it's not really set up. So it could be interesting. I'm not holding my breath on this one, but yeah. Abduct no longer pulls enemy gods but roots them in place with you, dealing constant basic attack damage for the duration. So I actually think, and this is one that I didn't get to play into support because I thought of this later, I think this change outright could just make Khepri a better support. Because one, Khepri already has enough CC. The difference in CC of a root and the difference of CC on a pull is not what? It's not much. I think the damage increase that you'd have in laning phase in a 2v2 would become like so much higher that Khepri becomes a threatening 2v2 laner. To explain it a little bit more, Khepri currently laning phase 2v2s loses nearly all of them. Hardly ever does he actually win. And if he does win, it's because he's just spacing well enough and he's playing into a pretty weak 2v2 and he's just trading well with decent damage. But Khepri, with this, in a 2v2, you toss your 2 out, you pull the enemy's support, and then you're just beating on them pull. When I say pull, it's just the root. Like, you root them, and then you're beating on them, elbow dropping them, and your ADC is also wailing away on them. That could just be too much damage for the support to withstand. And it might just make Khepri a stronger laning phase support. It does make him slightly more susceptible to dying in teamfights because you can't like maneuver around even like the tiniest bit. But I am very interested if this allows Khepri to win 2v2s. Because if I'm playing Khepri and I pair it with like an on her and I'm like, okay, this is an okay 2v2, and then they have something like CERN and then like a weak laner like maybe Geb when Geb comes out. Like they have, it's like this is a close 2v2. Maybe just getting this little bit of extra damage allows us to be more threatening and it'll allow us to win this 2v2. Again, that's just more theory than anything because I didn't get to see this one played in support, but it's just a thought. Yeah, it's still a dash if you don't hit someone. Yeah, what's up, Shmeep? How they've been able to quickly change things like Ares cripple and the ult and silences. They should be able to quit. Yeah, no, agreed. It's awesome. Okay. What's your guys' thoughts on this one? Very, very simple. Very, very simple. Very, very simple one. Loki 1 no longer bleeds, but instead he invises the nearest enemy or allied god. Cringe. This one made me want to cry. Yeah, this one is very volatile. It's very volatile. I'm really wanting to see where this character ends up because I don't think he can play support, honestly. His laning phase is so weak in support. So it's not good in support. However, this could be really fun as like a utility jungler. But I'm not sure. Cuz this could be like so insane with like Hades no longer having to like go into Helm of Darkness. Instead, him and the Loki just invis in together. But I think the creativity involved in this one is going to be interesting, just flat out. Where you at? I'm back. I'm back in Wisconsin for Christmas. Celebrating Christmas with my family. But I think this one alone, just wanting to see what happens with it, makes me like it. But I could see myself raging at this one very soon. Mordred, Aspect of Rage. This one's broken. This one is broken. This is probably the most overpowered one. Flat out. This one needs a nerf. Shoulder Charge no longer knocks up, but enemy gods knocks up enemy gods and deals no longer knocks up enemy gods, but it deals reduced damage and now passes through them. Additionally, damaging an enemy god with an ability resets the cooldown of Shoulder Charge. So, yeah, this character plays like Arthur does, and he just procs abilities, or procs items, off cooldown. So, like, Glad Shields, Phoenix Shields, yeah, good luck trying to fight into this character when he's just procking damage off cooldown and healing every single time that he's dashing. It's going to be obnoxious. It's not going to be balanced, at least right away. Could it be balanced eventually? Sure. But solo lane Mordred with this build, and I don't think it's very good, like, in jungle. I think it shifts him to solo. It's going to be broken. I mean, I've already seen Haddox type in the Aspect Discord about how this is just not balanced. My parents just moved to Wisconsin. They used to be in Minnesota. We moved to Wisconsin. Neath. Neath. Broken Weave explosions no longer root enemies, and the buff has a reduced duration. However, the attack speed gained is much higher. Additionally, using World Weaver provides stacks of Broken Weave. I think it's fine. I think this is kind of a shift. It's an attempt to make Neath an ADC. The problem is her ultimate is just the least ADC ultimate in the entire game, because ADCs want to constantly go. That's auto attacking, by the way. That's not slapping ass. Consistently want to be auto-attacking. Any time you spend doing this is time that you're not auto-attacking. We'll see if it helps her. Maybe her ultimate is just something that's never intended to be allowed to play, and maybe the numbers are just high enough to make her a relevant hyper carry. But I think this style isn't really Neath style. Like if I want a hyper carry ADC, playing Neath with this aspect versus playing Jingwei, yeah, give me Jingwei. Give me Jingwei. Divine Judgment no longer does damage to the area, but it says averages your and the enemy's god's current health as long as you have less than the target. I think this makes her an interesting solo laner because she's got a really good 1-2-3 in solo lane. And if you ever just get out traded, you just drop ult and trade it a ton. I think it's something where if you're higher health or like squishier, there's going to be less value in trading that much because your ultimate is just going to be doing that much damage anyway. I think if you're very tanky, and it kind of just gives you that second health bar. So I think it makes her more of a solo laner than a support or than a jungler. Raw Solar Blessing and Searing Pain only deal base damage with no scaling. In return, Solar Blessing can be placed on allied gods. Attaching to them and Searing Pain heals allies hit. This is a really cool one. This one is one that I'm very excited for. We'll see how much it actually makes raw support good, but I think it's awesome. Thanatos. This is the one that I got nerfed before it was able to be tested because it was just so insane. You no longer heal with your passive, but your passive provides you at permanent max health. Unless it's changed, there's about 2 max health per minion kill, and it's 25 now for every god kill. It was 50. They nerfed it down, though. I think 50 just made it so getting like 1 or 2 kills early just completely shifted laning phase from you can fight this to you are dying to this. His 3 also does deal bonus damage, and it heals Thanatos based on his max health. It heals him less than it does hurt him because it still costs % health. But it's still crazy how much health you can get to this, and it makes him just a really fun solo laner. The Morrigan. Confusion no longer stealths you, but on refire you swap positions with your clone. I think this one's going to get changed where if you kill the clone, she can't teleport to it anymore. This one is weird because it's either super OP or super useless. Yeah. I actually don't have much of an opinion on this one, but for the item balance, making strength items more potent in general, making active items feel more impactful, adding additional price variations and showing strong effects. I want them to do stuff like this, where there's super high and super low values to even like ultimates. Like, I don't think every ultimate needs to be 90-second cooldown. Raw ultimate should be like 60. Hecate ultimate should be like 100 and something. Like, there should be a difference in how valuable your ult is based on the cooldown, and some of them are very, very insane. Strength item buffs, all these pretty much wins across the board. I think Braggy's is even probably too much. I don't think it needs a buff at all, and this is just a buff. But for the most part, I think these are pretty cool. I'll have to play around with them, see them all. I have nothing specifically wrong. I think like brawlers being an increase is probably just a nerf, because I think part of the value of brawlers was how cheap it is. And I think Hydrus is also a very small nerf too. Active item updates. Avatar's Parachute is now 100 strength, costs 3,700 gold, and it gives you 25% strength bonus instead of just 20%. 100 points for Gryffindor for how good this change was. This is phenomenal. Same with Dreamer's Idol. Same essentially thing. It's a little bit lower on the inside, but if you remember, intelligence users have brought it to Hootie to already bump up that number, so you can very easily go to insane numbers with Dreamer's Idol already, and now you have this and Rod. So, yeah, crazy good. Eye of Providence, killing a ward grants you 50 gold. I love this. This is sick. Jade Scepter. Enemies hit by the area also lose 25% strength and int for 4 seconds. Really cool. Gives you a little bit of utility with this on top of it being CC. Lifebinder decreased by 15 seconds. I still think the stats on Lifebender are weird, but I think it's good. Screeching Gargoyle. Enemies hit by this area also lose 25 physical and magical protections for 4 seconds, which is cool. And you also get 10 more protections. Phoenix Feather loses 60 seconds. The effect now pulses out a ring of fire around you on activation that deals damage equal to 10% of your maximum HP as true. Wow, that's kind of cool. I like that. Stampede, the duration now lasts an extra 2 seconds, and instead of gaining 30% instantly, you gain 60% scaling down to 20%, so you get 60% really quickly, and then it slowly scales down. It's also giving you slow immunity. And you get attack speed. Wow, a lot of buffs for Stampede. Dagger Frenzy, slightly less basic attack damage on the top end, but it'll be a little bit more at the bottom end. Level 20, you'll get 50. Change the duration from 6 seconds to the next 5 basic attacks. And decrease the cooldown from 30 seconds to 15 seconds. And getting a kill on a god immediately resets the cooldown. Cool. Passive and general item updates. Kid Size is now getting a very slight nerf on the maximum health damage from 4% to 3.5%, but it deals an additional 4% of the difference between the user and the target's maximum health. So this is like takedown. It's going to be a lot better on squishies than it is going to be on Bologna. Hide of the Nemean Lion increased the passive basic attack reflect damage from 12.5% to 15%, and increased the active reflect damage from 25% to 30%, and the duration is also increased by 1 second. Yeah, I think that's a nice little shift for Nemean. I think it was one of the worst items in the game. Now there's maybe some viability, but we will see. Yogi's Necklace loses 8 health regen, but you also heal for 0.5% of your maximum health in mana per second. I think it's a slight nerf at the top end, but a pretty decent, a slight buff at the top end, the more health you get, but a slight nerf at the beginning. SARS Wings, one of the biggest changes in the patch, in my opinion. You're permanently immune to slows. You also get 400 health, 30 magical protections, 40 physical protections, but it does cost 3,000 gold. I would not be surprised if this is worked into nearly every single build. Wish Granting Pearl is getting 1,300 gold added to it. You're also getting 40 int, and you're getting 250 health. Very cool. Typhon's Fang is getting 10 int. Shifter's Shield is getting an extra 10 strength. Leviathan's Hide is getting an extra 10 physical protections. Sphere of Negation is getting 900 gold added into it, but it's also getting an extra 60 protections, scaling from 40 to 100. Elixir of Strength and Elixir of Intelligence now stack their effects. Purification Speed is losing 30 seconds, and Phantom Shell is losing 20 seconds and also getting a slightly bigger shield. And lastly, adding 3 new items. Dominance, which is 50 strength, 200 mana, 4 mana per second, and 15% attack speed, and also ignoring 20% less or 20% protections. Odie Bow is the exact same item it is in Smite 1. Actually, it's slightly higher attack speed though, 45%, slightly more gold. But it's basically you're only getting it for the attack speed. Lernaean Bow is giving you 40 strength, 30% attack speed for 2450 gold, and you fire a poisonous arrow that pierces all enemies in front of you, dealing 130% of your basic attack damage as physical damage, and inflicting them with 40% reduced healing for 4 seconds. It can crit, and it passes through walls. This is their anti-heal item. We'll see how balanced this is. I think it's fine. I'm glad that they didn't just make XC have anti-heal on it. I'm glad that they made it an item, so if you really felt you needed anti-heal, you can build in this anti-heal specific item. Last thing to look at is Aladdin. Yeah. So, there's a lot that we could talk about with Aladdin. I think we should just watch a little clip from it.
Oh, I missed. Why does every roll just try to do this?
Oh, yeah.
He's just running. He's gonna come in at 1 health. He's at 1 health. He's at 1 health. Yes.
Don't worry, I'm here waiting.
Yeah, Aladdin now can pull you into his lamp and fight you in there. He is very movement heavy based. He's very interesting to watch. I'm a big fan of him. Excited to play him. But yeah, that is Aladdin. But there it is. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys have all our video. I'll see you guys again next time. Peace.